Alex, Gomora, Dark City, Zandfontein. Now, these are some of the names Alexandra Township has gone by in the 110 years since it was first established. As the oldest township in South Africa, many wonder if there's anything of value to celebrate. The overcrowding and poverty have become more stark when one considers that just across the road lies Sandton, the richest square mile in Africa. There's also the issue of a lack of service delivery in this sprawling township. For more on this, we are joined by Johannesburg Council Speaker Colleen Makhubele to tell us a bit more about this. Speaker, pleasure to have you on the program this evening. Firstly, let's speak about the importance and history of Alexandra Township. It's now celebrating 110 years of existence.
Good evening, Tantla, and thank you for having me. I think it's very important that we go back and draw from what has made Alexandra to be what it is today.
Right.
Despite the hellish conditions that we see, whether it's social, it's infrastructure, what our people have to go through, drainage systems not working, stormwater floods. We are looking at burying over 15 people now. We're still looking for the baby. So there's a lot that we can talk about that hasn't gone right. But I think when we go back to understand the start of it, it was from a friendship.
Yeah.
It was a friendship with a wealthy businessman 110 years ago, Papenfas, with the Mbanjwa family that started the Alexandra Township. And it was a friendship with the Reverend Buti and the then politician, Dr. Korenhoff, that really sustained the township so that it was not demolished. And I think it was a friendship of different cultures, nationalities from everywhere, even foreign nationals, that have come together to make Alexandra what it is today, and that we can celebrate it 110 years later. Because you walk across the township through the streets, there's nothing much really that you can write home about except for the people, you know. And today we're celebrating the spirit of the people, the young people that were born there, that grew up there, that are saying Alexandra is our home. Despite what we see, we want to make something of ourselves, and want to make something of this township, want to remember our struggle heroes that were born there, some of the famous sports people that were born there, some of the famous artists and musicians also that were born there. And they're drawing inspiration from some of these people, you know, forgetting the environment. And they did a beautiful parade across the streets, and over 200, I think we're almost 300 young people on the streets celebrating that, artists. And as a city, we have an obligation and a responsibility to foster that. Because first and foremost, it tells us that they came together out of their own, away from the streets, from drugs and sex and alcohol, to come and do something so positive, you know, to bring a positive light out of a dire situation and a dire township. And for that, I think the spirit of Alex needs to be celebrated and enhanced. But I think going forward, what we want to do as a city is to build on that friendship that I started with. There has to be a friendship of private and public sector to rebuild that community. We've been drawing on private sector now to help us with disaster management and really controlling the floods. But I think we have to draw on a particular cooperation and partnership that can help to fix the issues in that township, and not only that, but then move on to other townships across the city.
Let's draw from that, addressing some of the issues facing this township. Not only were you celebrating artists during the activities this week, but you're also raising a very important issue when it comes to addressing issues on GBV. What did that look like?
It looked like really speaking to the young ones who can still be influenced positively. And that was really the key of what we wanted to achieve today, because most of the time we address GBV when it has occurred, when they are victims, when people are not really teachable, you know, in their minds. They're elderly, they've grown up with these things, seeing it, thinking it's normal. But when we talk to the small girls and the small boys from as young as 7, 8 years old, all of them were there. And these are the people that we're formulating new paradigms and new mindsets around GBV, what it looks like, what it means. And of course it has evolved as well, because we've got transgenders, and you know, it occurs whether it's even male to male, female to female, because of, you know, the evolvement of human and living conditions. So it's very important that we start at a young age to plant the seeds of what GBV looks like, and what they need to do when it occurs. And if some of them are even victims of perpetuating it because they have seen it, they think it's normal, how do we assist them to break that cycle at a young age and knowing that this is wrong, you cannot behave in that manner, no matter how frustrated or how angry or what your partner does to you. There are many other avenues in order to express yourself and relieve yourself of any other emotion than to take it out on a partner who is a different gender to you.
And on a personal level, why did you see it important to spearhead this initiative?
Look, coming from Guyana myself, you know, I think first thing was that in our minds, when we thought about Johannesburg, or we call it Johnny, it was always Alexander. You know, our uncles, our aunts used to come to Joburg and lie to us at the time and paint this big picture, but we saw Alexander as some glorious thing. And Alexander did provide inspiration for us. It helped us in these villages, in those, you know, dusty townships in Limpopo to dream, to want to do something better with our lives, because we wanted to follow them to Alexandra, you know. And when they would come back from Johnny at the time with everything that we could think of, sweets, goods, clothes, etc. So it further, you know, created this image of what living in Alex could be like, working in Johannesburg and prosperity, being able to afford to take care of your family, etc. Of course, it's only after you come and see Alexandra for what it is, then you realize that this township that was such a source of inspiration and hope to us, look what it looks like, and what can we do about it. And second to that is on the GBV itself, we grew up as well witnessing GBV, and it was okay, some of us even in our time. It's only as we grow up that we realize, oh, what we saw our fathers doing to our mothers, it's actually not okay. And we have to then heal from those kind of scars. And it's important that we use also our personal experience. And some of our counselors as well, they tell of those stories that they themselves have experienced, not even the parents. And we're able to assist the communities on that. But I think lastly, from my position as a speaker as well, it's my responsibility to ensure the well-being, the welfare of not only councillors but of our community, the social aspect, to understand that this is a caring city, and it's my role to lend that help socially to assist our communities in whatever social form that we can, whatever it is that they want to do, we lend a hand, especially if it's a positive initiative like this, where young people have come together. We have to make sure that we encourage them. We did the same with Soweto Township. Middlelands actually was celebrating about 99 years, you know, this year as well. We went to Soweto. We were with them when they did the Olympics, and we helped them to celebrate, you know, as young people that are coming together. And we're encouraging this kind of activities that young people, our politicians are busy fighting for their political seats. Nobody's interested. There was no national, there was no province there. Nobody couldn't care less what is happening with this beautiful history in our townships. All they're looking at is whether there's pala sofas or anything that is happening in the media space. But it's our responsibility, you know, as young politicians coming up to say we don't want to take that route. We want to preserve our history. We want to tell our own story. We can't always rely on some white people somewhere coming to tell our story, some international people somewhere coming to be interested in us. If we don't foster this interest in us, in our young people, in how they grow up, how they are socialized, what they think is important, what they need to honor, how they maintain their infrastructure. Because today we're talking about how do you even maintain your environment, you know, so that the little that you have, keep it clean, you know, make sure that it's in a good living condition, etc. And then the state can meet you halfway. So those are the kind of messaging that we need to start to drill into our young people.
So you've spent some time crisscrossing Alexandra Township, and you also spent time to go visit some of the families who've lost their loved ones because of that devastating incident where church congregants were swept away by water at the Yexke River. Tell us of the purpose of that particular visit.
That was one of the most painful things that we've had to do as a city, especially going into the house of the lady who lost her grandmother. She lost her firstborn son. Then she lost the 3-month-old baby that they were still looking for, left alone, you know, devastated. And the purpose of that was to, first and foremost, offer the emotional support, And we went there with pastors, with civic organization, and with different arms of government as well, from social development, so that we're able to see what are her living conditions and how do we, offer sustainable support to her. Of course, then we'll offer support in terms of financing the funeral as well, assisting them to have a dignified send-off. But I think one of the key things that we needed to go and offer as a message to the residents of Alexandra in this time is to diffuse the social tension that was building up, especially regarding foreign nationals. And I think it's important to repeat that message, that in a time like this, it's not a time to take up to the street to fight foreign nationals, to point fingers. Because the reason that we've got foreign nationals in our shores that maybe are not even documented is because there are processes in national and province that have also failed. Things failed at the border, at the entry point. They find themselves here. And as a city, we've got a responsibility that when they are here, humanity says we must give primary care. Our constitution forces us to give care to them.
Right.
Now we have to also give them a dignified send-off to wherever they come from. And that's our primary responsibility now. But I think the issue of foreign nationals and how we deal with it to assist them, whether they are refugee status and, document them properly, must be addressed with urgency, because it's a brewing pot within our communities. Anything that happens in our communities is always finger pointed to foreign nationals, because if we are not pointing at government, government does not respond. We need some scapegoat that we can feel we've done something about the issue, and it becomes the victims who are the foreign nationals. And so that issue, we are appealing to the ministers, to those responsible for it, assist us as a city to look into it. And even ourselves as a city, we have a department that is trying to educate, the city and the residents on how do we deal with this matter. It's not a blanket approach to say, go beat them up, go burn them. No, it cannot be that way. It's illegal to do it in that manner. We have to follow the processes of documenting them, understanding their status, and if their status allows them to work, they must work. If it doesn't, then the police must do their part, national must do their part, all arms of government must work together on that. So that social tension must be diffused, but the greatest social tension, despite the foreign national, is the inequality and the lack of service delivery that exists in the township.
When you look at that sprawling township that is Alexandra, issues around the provision of housing still remains a very thorny issue in that particular part of the city. Let's speak to what do you think government should be doing better to effectively respond to the need for proper housing, decent housing within Alexandra Township?
Ntanhla, I think we have to really think about relocating some of the people there, demolish and plan properly, because there was no town planning. And it becomes very difficult to even improve the housing in the state of what Alexandra is now. It's even difficult to move in, as disaster management or as any other form of department to provide services, because you can't drive through the roads. Everybody is built up to the roads. There's flood now. The houses are flooding. So I think the solution is to say, how do we extract the people from where they are in a decent manner, in a dignified manner, plan properly, demolish, plan, rebuild, and make that environment even aesthetically beautiful, and such that our children have even the space, the greenery, etc., to be able to play. Right now, we've got children that wake up, all they do is sit on the roads because there's nothing else. If they have to walk to the park, it's miles away. The Jaske River is there, it's dirty, and it floods, and it's just the lack of planning altogether. We need to start to replan, and these things should have been done a long time ago. There were budgets given for the rehabilitation of the township, but we don't want to get into that.
And unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. That Speaker of the Joburg Council, that's Colleen Makhubele, speaking to us about the various activities that were underway in Alexandra.